What's up, everybody? Clinton Fauché here, and
I'm Albert Chavez, and guess what, guys? We have a great guest on today. He's the national champion at the University of Alabama. He played football as a linebacker, turned UFC veteran.
Eryk, your boy Anders, is coming to Front Porch Chronicles. Let's hop right into it. All right, as promised, we have the man, the myth, the legend, national champion, Alabama, Roll Tide to UFC. I've known this guy. I sent him a picture actually of Mallory back when she was 9. She's a sophomore in college now. Not to say how old we are, but we're getting kind of old. You had the baby fro going, looking all suave. Let's get right into it. You got a fight coming up March 2nd with Jamie Pickett. How you feeling?
Feeling good, feeling great. Just got done with my first training session of the day. Just got something to eat, and now it's get a bit of a nap, and then go out and do it again.
Yeah, how's the fight camp going?
Man, it's going well. Feeling good. Usually, you got a bunch of bumps and bruises and injuries and things like that you have to fight through as well. But so far so good. So that's always a plus.
Stylistically matching up with Jamie, how do you think it's going to go? What do you guys try? I know you're not trying to give away too much, in your fight camp, but what are you trying to do, and how do you think the matchup is going to be coming in next month?
I think the matchup favors me a lot. I think he's kind of, I don't know if submissive is the word, but he's the kind of guy that, like, if you let him go first, he's going to take advantage. But if you pressure him, he'll back up and let you do your thing. You know what I mean? Of course, he's a fighter. He's going to fight back. But I think with my style, pressure, and, the way I come forward and whatnot, it's going to present a lot of problems for him.
I agree 100. And then I think the evolution of Eryk Anders, for me, knowing you from back in the day of just being a straight banger and coming in there and being like, hey, I'm going to overwhelm you. One of the things that the progression of as becoming a veteran, now you still are that banger and that dog, but you also, your jiu-jitsu has evolved, your grappling has evolved. All of these things have evolved. So to me, and I'm not going to gas you up, you're more evolved now as a fighter going through. Not that you weren't a savage back then, but more evolved. And so I agree it's going to be a bad day for Jamie Pickett when he goes against your boy. So,
I think evolution is the name of the game. You can't really stay the same because eventually they're going to figure you out and, be able to beat you at your own game or make you not able to play your game. So I think it's you have to evolve and you have to be good at everything, or at least competent. You know what I mean?
But you say that, but there's a lot of guys that come in the door. That's why people like you, Hoffa, different guys have the longevity of their career is because as a dog, you also aren't caught up in ego and saying, hey, this is my way, this is what's gonna, and that's one of the things for me that I've always respected about you. And I'm old school. So the guys that, get in there and are dogs, but don't say, like, they're able to evolve and change and say, hey, you know what, I need to adjust. I watch your training now, even now. It's funny as technology's evolved, you got heart rate monitors. It's way different than back in strike hard days when we were just winging it and trying to make it do what it do, getting in there for a couple of grand and getting our faces bashed in and whatever else. So, I commend you for realizing and knowing for the longevity of it, you've adjusted and grown and developed. So
what's one thing?
Yeah, well,
good.
You got to do that. I'm not fighting. I'm fighting some of the best guys in the world. Some guys that are top 25 in the world in my weight class. So, it's not like I'm fighting, guys from Run Lap, Alabama, or the middle of nowhere, Alabama anymore. So you got to keep up with things.
Yeah.
So you said it's not just about like just your physicality and stuff like that. What do you do to like train your mind for these types of fights for someone that's not in the fight game?
I mean, like the mental aspect, to me, I feel like you either got it or you don't. You know what I mean? You're a dog or you're not. You can like, kind of enhance those things and make them a little bit better. But at the end of the day, like if you're not a dog, like you're gonna reach your limit, and they're gonna overwhelm you, or take you to a place where you're not comfortable. So as far as training my mind, I try to make practice as grueling and as tough and rough as possible, so that at no point in the fight is there like a quitting point. You know what I'm saying? Or the threshold is so high that my opponent can't get me there. You know what I mean? So I just try to like constantly, make practice up for lack of better word. Make it so grimy, so tiring that like, if I train for an hour straight, that's like 4 fights. The fight's 15 minutes. That's I just basically fought 4 fights inside of that hour. So if I try to push the pace, get my heart rate. That's why I wear the heart rate monitor. So I can't lie to myself. Be like, oh damn, I was, kind of tired. I think I had a good practice, but then you go look at the heart rate monitor, and it's like your heart rate only got up to like 160 or whatever. Dude, that's the yellow. That's not even red. You know what I'm saying? So you can lie to yourself without the technology. But then when I go back and check it and it says 185, it's like, okay, that's getting towards the ceiling.
Yeah, and I think to attest to what you say, some people have that dog. It's funny to me, like with these David Goggins and all of these guys. Me and Hoffa were actually talking about this. Some of these things you can enhance, but you either have a dog or you don't have a dog. And there's a lot of guys that come into this that once they get their hoe card pulled and they got to show what it's really about, they can't perform. And so, so I agree. Let me ask you this. So going kind of farther back away from the fight, how was it going from winning a natty at Alabama to the UFC? What made you have that transition, or was like MMA fighting something like, I know for me, I had a patient die in front of me and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go sign up. Was it something that you always had a dream about, or when you got done with football, you were just like, you know what, let me give this a go?
Well, to be honest, when I played in college, I thought I would play in the NFL for, 30 years and, have more Super Bowl rings than Tom Brady and, do all make $1 billion and all these, these dreams that every kid who plays, football, even at the Pee Wee level has, but it didn't quite work out like that. I got on with Cleveland with the Browns, got cut, went to Canada, got cut, and then played a year of arena football, and it's pretty much just like, if it ain't the NFL, then, I don't want to play. I already had a kid, so it's like, it's not just about you. You can't sit out here and just, dick around. You gotta go like provide. So, but like in the midst of all that, like once you kind of like see like your childhood dream, like you see that light dwindling and it finally goes out. You kind of, at least for me anyway, I started venting. Now looking back now, I didn't realize what I was doing or what was happening. It just kind of like happened like slowly but gradually. But I started abusing drugs, alcohol, fighting all the time, getting in trouble. And I came back to Alabama, where I had just like a year before won a national championship. So I thought for sure someone would have a cush gig for me, selling medical equipment or insurance or whatever, just some suit and tie job.
Yeah.
It didn't quite work out like that. And I found myself like homeless, working in a factory, doing all these things that I didn't really think that I would. When I had a degree, so I was like doing a bunch of stuff that I didn't, see it's like totally like left turn, like the opposite where I thought I'd be just a year ago. So, I remember like sleeping in a hotel with my son. You know, he was probably like maybe 1 or 2, and listening to this lady solicit herself outside my door. So I was like, dude, I gotta, figure this out. And so I just, walked into a gym, not even like intending to fight, but I just wanted to like blow off steam instead of like, getting fucked up and then going and fighting, in a bar or in the street or something. I needed to like blow off steam in another way, because I knew that like exercise and like things like that would like give me a clear mind to like figure, this life thing out. And man, I started training jiu-jitsu for a little bit, liked it. Walked into another gym and sparred with Walt Harris. He beat me up, and I knew in like the nicest way possible. Because I don't know if you've ever seen Walt. Walt's about 6'4".
I've been punched. I trained with him one time over at John's, and I tell people I called a straight right for him, and I've been hit with bats and bricks, and I don't think I've ever been as hard as I was when I caught that straight from him. So yeah, believe me, I know.
Dude, he's a phenomenal athlete, big guy, and when I first walked into the gym, they're like, "Can you fight?" And I think I was like 23, 24 years old. So I was like, "Yeah, of course. What? Of course I can fight." You know what I mean? Until I sparred with somebody who actually knew how to fight. Then I realized that I don't know how to fight. You know what I mean? But I honestly, I fell in love with fighting right then and there, and I was like, "Yo, like I need to this is gonna give me like." Some direction, you know what I mean? And I didn't think that I would like fight in the UFC or nothing like that, but I was like, yo, I'll do this so that like I have that like regimen lifestyle. Wake up, go train, go to work, come back, train again, blah, 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 that whole thing. And it just kind of like evolved. I fought like a month later after I started doing that, and knocked the dude out in like 50 seconds, and I was like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And this might be for me. And man, just kept fighting, training, working, doing all those things, and here we are.
Well, I commend you again. I've been in that dark place. I lived in it for a long time, and kind of like you, I had a rough upbringing, and so I had every reason why not to be a good father, why not to provide for my kids. And I've been in that place where you're homeless and not knowing what to do or what. So I commend you on being a man and actually taking care of your responsibilities and duties first as a father. And also, again, the evolution with you as a man to step out of that lifestyle and that mindset and do better. Like, you're doing rental properties. You would have never thought like of all of these extra things, but like I said, as you grow, you've evolved, and so I commend you on that.
Well, it probably takes a lot of courage too. You said you got your degree. You were at the top of who you were. You just won a national championship, and then to literally come back and like take your ego away from it, be like, nah, I don't. Like I can actually do a job that is going to put food on the table for my kids, like that takes a lot of courage, because you see people in my generation now, they're like, oh, I have a degree, like fuck that, I don't want to go back and do some like menial job. But sometimes you just got to put bootstraps to the ground and like make it work no matter what.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to ask nobody for help, I'm a bit prideful, so I was like, yeah, I got to figure this out for me, you know what I mean? So the good thing about rock bottom is there's nowhere to go but up.
There's nowhere to go but up. Preach. Taking them to church on a Monday. I hear you. So let me ask you this. I was telling Albert, being from the state of Alabama, I said, like, when he knew who you were as a fighter, and I'm like, well, he won the Natty at Alabama. He was like, yeah. He was like, I wonder what it's like. So I wanted to ask you. I told him, I said, his personality, he's got such a good personality, but I said also he has to be very cut and dry, because like for instance, I was explaining to him, like, when I go with Hoffa, dude, we go to the airport, we go to Target, we go to Walmart, anywhere we go, people are coming up and lurking or whatever. So how is it for you being in Alabama where everybody roll tide? Everybody is constantly wanting to talk to you about Alabama football or the Natty, Colt McCoy, Nick Saban, like all of those things. How is it for you, like, to be able to say, hey, I don't really want to talk about this and disassociate from?
Man, to be honest, I enjoy it every time it happens because eventually nobody's going to care. You know what I mean? You know, it'll be like I'll retire, I'll stop fighting, and then all those things that I've done will, you know, just be on YouTube, you know?
Yeah.
And so it don't matter to me. Like right now, like I'm just happy, I'm grateful because, you know, like I said, it all comes to an end one day and then it doesn't happen anymore. And, you know, I'm cool with that too, don't get me wrong, but while it is what it is, then, you know, it's cool for me, you know, but sometimes I do, like I'll be with my kids and like doing something and people. So, you know, I will be a little short, you know what I mean? Because, you know, like it's
Family.
important to spend time with the kids, you know what I mean? And, but I also like them to see that too, because I want them to have goals and aspirations. I want them to think that's cool. And, you know, whether they decide to, you know, whether they make it as an athlete or not, like, I just want them to see, like, you know, I could be a jerk, you know, I could be, but, you know, I'm a nice person, so I be nice to people, be generous to people, and, you know, so it's kind of like, I hope it's something that they're observing as well.
Let me ask you this. I know for me, I know my situation, but do you share with your kids? Because number one, you pass down some good sports genetics. I watch their highlights on when you post. But number two, do you share with them kind of your upbringings and some of your trials and tribulations that you went through throughout your life as a parent? Do you share that with them so that it's a slippery slope? I know for me, and I'll give you for instance, my oldest daughter, you know, her mom passed away with brain cancer 5 years ago, and she moved with me. And so it was a slippery slope looking back now because I shared with her some of the grimy things that I had to go through. So do you share with them kind of that so that they know, like beyond just dad is a fighter or whatever, like, hey, I literally had to fight from nothingness and chaos to get to a better place?
Yeah, sure. You know, I think that's what life is all about is, you know, kind of like reflecting on past experiences and like sharing that with your kids. For example, my oldest son wrestles and, you know, he does pretty good, man. He's like 20-4 or something like that. One of those losses, he got disqualified for slamming a kid. And, you know, two of those losses, like he really got like manhandled by, you know, a kid whose wrestling is their life. And man, I think that like, you know, I'll sit there and like watch, especially when they were younger. Like we would go to this wrestling club, and there'd be like a room where you walk in, and like there's chairs and tables in there, and then like the kids go into the wrestling room, and there's no parents allowed in there, but there's a wall of glass, and then the wrestling match, so the parents can watch their kid wrestle. And some of these dads, you know, would like not like yelling through the glass, but you would hear some of the shit they would say. And I'm like, oh, man, have you ever wrestled, dude? You know, okay, so you don't know what it's like to have somebody who trains to like hold you down. Do you think your kid wants to be there? Of course he doesn't. You know what I mean? So so like my kid, you know, he got manhandled. And of course he's frustrated because he's always the hammer. He's never the nail. But this one particular match, he was definitely the nail. Like, you know, but he fought like he's a dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he fought. He did, but the kid was just better than him, and that's, you know, that's just the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
You know, so they beat him like 12-2 or whatever, and like, it was like rough. Like the kid was like shoving his face into the mat and just fucking letting him have it. You know what I mean? The kid's so much better.
It's a humbling experience for sure.
This kid is like a two-time, and he's, you know, 14. Like he's in 8th grade, wrestles for a varsity for probably the best school in the state. 2-time freestyle national champ, you know what I'm saying? My kid don't stand a chance. He's a seasonal wrestler. You know?
Yeah.
Anyways, but of course, like, who cares? Like, he don't see it that way. He's mad. He's frustrated. And so I'm telling him, I was like, yo, you know, whatever, boom, boom, boom. And I was like, man, just remember, like, you know, it's me who's telling you this. I'm not like just some mom telling you. I'm not just some dad who never wrestled telling you. I'm a dude who, you know, who's had his ass beat on national television before telling you. You know what I'm saying? It's all good, you know. This is just an 8th grade wrestling match. You know what I'm saying? Of course you're going to be frustrated. Of course you're going to be mad. Of course you're going to be embarrassed. But, you know, life goes on. So, you know what I'm saying? Don't spend too much time dwelling on it. And sometimes it's not really like, I think it's like who it's coming from. I know I get it. Like I understand exactly how you feel right now. Dude, I fought this dude named Khalil Roundtree, and he's probably the worst ass woman I've ever gotten in my entire life. On TV, on pay-per-view, in Atlanta, right down the street from, maybe 2 hours from my house. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think when like advice like that and like conversations like that come from me versus, you know, some kid's dad who, you know, played baseball and has no idea what wrestling is, or, you know, anything like that, I think it like carries a little bit more weight, you know, because as soon as I like reminded him, like, yo, I've been in those shoes, like he just kind of seemed more receptive to what it is that I was saying.
Yeah, and your kids, they remember that stuff too. Because I know when I was younger, like my dad used to chirp at me a couple of times because he would coach me. So like you can be the complete opposite and be an asshole at times too, where like if you did react that way and he knows that you're a UFC fighter, it would completely change the trajectory of like how he relates to it too. So that's a huge thing, a huge father-son moment right there.
I don't look, man. I hate to sound like cliche, but man, I just want their best effort. If you give me your best effort and the kid's better than you, that's what it is. You know. So like I'm like, yo, like you fought. Like I could tell. I see. I'm looking. I watched. I know what your best is. There have been times where I'm like, yo, that kid beat you because, you know, you didn't you let him beat you. The skill was close. It was competitive, but you were just a little more tired than he was. You know what I'm saying? Like you let him beat you. This kid that I'm talking about, like there was no chance. Like my kid's been wrestling this kid since he was in like 5th grade, and he's never beat him. You know what I mean? Or 4th grade or whatever. He's been wrestling him for a long time. Has never beat this kid. I'm not saying that he can't beat this kid, but I'm just saying like. And sometimes people are just better than you, and it's okay. This isn't your life. You know what I mean? So I just I don't yell at them. I don't, you know, scream at them. I don't belittle or berate them like some of these parents do, because I know what it is. You know, I know what that is like. I know that feeling. They don't know that feeling. So of course for them, it's just get up. Mm-hmm. It's just pin the kid. Yeah, well, man, that motherfucker, he trains too. You know what I mean?
I think it makes a big difference when you come from a background where you had a father that was the complete opposite, or a father who's not there, or a father. For me, I had a father that was very abusive. So like my father, for me, it was always, he put this on me where I always, if I didn't do something, he was the yeller, or he would beat me if I came home. If I lost, I degraded his name, or I degraded. So I think it's big to be able to shift that mind and look at it from a standpoint of being and doing better, because there's a lot of people, again, that don't make that change. Like they live in that chaos. So it's a big thing, and then to make a big change in your kids, which is a big thing. So let's shift into Alabama. I know your boy retired, Nick Saban. I saw when you posted. Did you foresee it coming?
I don't think anybody saw it coming. I don't think anybody saw it coming, but I understand where he's coming from because, you know, Nick Saban's 72. You know, he's old school. You know what I mean? And I think like the transfer portal, not even NIL, but the transfer portal is kind of what sped this process up, because how am I supposed to, like for me, like when I was growing up, like one of the biggest reasons like parents put their kids in sports is to like help them become men, you know what I mean? Help them become adults, you know? So, but how can you do that if, you know, I go to Alabama, then Coach Saban, I don't maybe get the playing time that I think I deserve. So instead of, you know, putting my nose to the grindstone and going and grinding and outworking everybody who's in front of me, I just transferred to another school. What lesson does that teach the kid? So like I think like it's making it easier for kids to quit. Schools are buying players. I don't think that's right. I don't think that like you should be able to offer somebody, $1 million, like out of high school, whatever.
That's a lot of money.
Back up the Brinks truck.
Bro,
Like,
it's more.
if I'm already at Alabama, you as the University of Texas can't come in and say, hey, come over to Texas because I'll give you twice what they're giving you at Bama. I don't think that's right. So now like watch what I'm telling you. The Texas Longhorns are going to be the New York Yankees and the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, because all the boosters and stuff, yeah, that's crazy.
They're going to be the best the money can buy. Can't nobody compete with that oil money. Can't nobody compete with that cattle money. There's just too much money in the state of Texas for them to not get who they want to get. And now this is the thing: you can go ball out at a school. And then Texas is like, oh, our quarterback is gone. I like this quarterback from Ohio State. Hey, come over here. You know what I'm saying? We got everything you need. We got Sarkisian. We got the receivers. We got the defense. Here's $1 million in a Bentley. Come over here and then help us win. Now that our quarterback is gone. Where's like the building of the player? Where's the relationship? You know what I'm saying? So
There is none. Yeah.
Well,
I do think the players should be paid 100%, but should they be able to transfer just because they're unhappy? I think if like Alabama right now, if like the coach leaves, okay, bounce if you want to, but if everything stays intact, you can't leave because another school offers you more money.
Well,
I know how that sounds, but there should be like I don't know how to figure it out.
No, I can't. I think there needs. I think there. I'll tell you this. I think there needs to. I do agree. These young men need to be paid. Most of these young men come from poverty, especially in the SEC, especially in the South. Being from there, most of these young men are coming from poverty. They're coming from low income. They're coming from savagery, so they do need to be paid. Some of these guys going to school, some of the stories from back in the day of these guys going to school and trying to live off of nothingness is insane. So I do agree they need to get paid. I think there's going to have to be a regulation or some sort of contractual agreement. And I don't know how the NCAA is going to do that because right now I'm just telling you straight up, it's a free for all. I've got a friend of mine. His son is the #1 running back recruit. He is in 9th grade. He's Mark Ingram's size right now in 9th grade. He moved states to get recruited, and he'll go in. He just was with Saban a couple of months before he retired. And me and his dad are already talking about how much he's gonna make coming out of high school. He'll be, as a sophomore, one of the top programs in Georgia. He'll be running back 1 as a sophomore. So money, they're already throwing, I'm sure, numbers out there at him, which is insane. So I think there needs to be some sort of regulation. I do agree with Saban. I'm old school. Loyalty is everything to me. And with that, you have to stick with somebody to allow them to develop you, not just as a player, but as a man. These kids these days there's no loyalty. And going back to what you said, they honestly could care less if they're going to win or not. These kids, for these kids these days, they want to get paid and they want attention on social media, which is insane to me. They could care less really about winning, which is crazy.
Think about what you just said, man. That kid's a freshman in high school, which means he's 14, 15 years old, and they already talking about how much money he gonna make and this, and this. So how you expect me to even care about school, concentrate on this, that, and the third? Shit, I just got to make it. And then
no injuries.
Yeah, no injuries.
No injuries.
It's a good thing he's got a dad. A lot of these kids, everybody got an uncle. You know what I mean? They don't have a dad, but they got an uncle. You know what I'm saying? These people steal from the kids and they say they have the kid's best interest. And the kid is, 14, 15, 16, 18, anywhere between, in college, I guess you're 18 to 22, 23 years old. That's still a child, so it's easy to like manipulate somebody and like take their money.
And I tell people,
maybe they put it in a trust and you can't touch it.
That's what
or or an escrow or something like that. Because handing a kid at 18, like I think what's the kid's name? Arch Manning.
Yeah.
Like they gave him like $5 million in a car. Man, do you think I got the bag already? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I ain't even touched the field.
Yeah, but one good thing about him is he's a rich Caucasian with family that can. I'm talking about more so the kids from the hood. We're talking about.
No, I get it.
Yeah,
I'm just using him as an example.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Some of these kids are making like real money.
Yeah,
like real money. $5 million. That's more than a lot of people make in a lifetime.
A lifetime, yeah. And for a lot of these,
that's cool. Go ahead.
A lot of these kids, like I tell people, being in Orange County, like the first time I went to a football game out here, my daughter went to Mission Viejo, which is a big time public school here. And I went to a game and there was like maybe 1,000 people. And I was like, this is big time football. And they don't think about it. In the South, especially when you go to places like Inslee, you go to Miami, you go to Southwest Atlanta, you go to like these rural areas where these kids are, it's poverty and like these are hood kids. Like if they don't make it, it's either prison or football. Like that's the mentality for them. So I agree. The money needs to be put in some sort of escrow, there needs to be business training. I know University of Florida is put together a program. I actually was talking to Billy Napier about it. They're putting together a NFL style program where they teach these kids about money, like businesses, all of these different things. So I agree, it needs to be put in some sort of escrow account so that long-term wise, they can learn about business and then use that money to make them, instead of, like you said, everybody's got an uncle, everybody's got somebody that wants to open a new wing shop, everybody's got somebody. I mean, I'm from the hood, so like that's what it is. Like everybody's got somebody that's looking for a way to make some easy, quick money. Hey man, look over here. Back in the day when I was coming up, it was, hey, dudes were getting paid. They were still dropping off bags back then. It wasn't the money like the type, but they were taking that to the local drug dealers so that they could flip that money and get that money back. So they were putting themselves in situations. So I agree. I agree with Nick Saban stepping out at his age. I think he could have gone on, but I think the system is very corrupt now. And I actually commend him for saying, hey, I don't want no part of this, rather than playing that same game.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. You're trying to keep up with the Joneses. Like, yo, do you want to play here or not, dude?
Exactly. But they don't, these kids don't think like that. So,
but I get it. I understand, because what player is it? Maybe I can't remember who it is, but one of these college players is going to make 4 times what Brock Purdy is making. Has maybe
Cam Ward.
Huh?
It's Cam Ward. Went from Washington State. He came out and said that he was going to. He declared for the NFL, and then he turned around and just signed with Miami. I don't know if these numbers are right. Don't quote me, but they were saying close to, I think it was something like 15 million, in the 15 million range for him to come there. So, it's one of those things that the next step is, and this is what's going to happen. The next step is players. I saw where some player, I don't know where he was at, he applied and got his 9th year of eligibility. Yeah, what's going to happen is, I'm a Florida fan, so I don't want to call Miami corrupt, but look, it is what it is. But it's one of those things that how many players that know that they're not going to be able to make that next step to the NFL are going to start staying back and applying and suing the NCAA for more eligibility. It's a free-for-all. I don't fault Saban. I would have got out. It too much chaos, too much. So Speaking of that, the new coaching staff, have they reached out to you guys as alumni and kind of trying to build networks and stuff like that? Do you know anything about the new staff? What do you?
Not really. Just obviously the new coach. He's got a proven track record. He's won everywhere he's went. I have never heard of Rome Ozuna or Michael Penix before. These last 2 years. So, I think if I'm a receiver or a quarterback, Alabama's the place I want to go because. He just had that kid as the one dude, the Ozuna. I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, but he's was the leading receiver in the NCAA. Like, when has Washington ever done anything other than lose, let alone go to the?
I don't remember.
Jake Browning, he's from my high school.
Yeah, but I'm saying that whenever they were significant, I think it was. I can't even remember the running back. I think it was.
Yeah, of course. They'll have a player or two every now.
But yeah,
I'm saying every school has that. But a Heisman Trophy candidate, leading receiver, the Biletnikoff winner. You know what I mean? So if I'm an offensive player, I'm not transferring from Alabama. I'm trying to go to Alabama. Again, now you have to compete with money and that's why these kids are leaving because Ohio State's paying, Texas is playing. I think 2 kids went to Ohio State, 1 kid went to Texas. They've had 13 or 17.
Florida State got 5. They poached 5. I saw it on there yesterday. They poached 5 Bama players. They're down there winging some money at Florida State. So
you think that the Washington coach though can keep up in the SEC?
Ooh, that's the question, the $1 million question.
He hasn't lost anywhere. You know what I'm saying? SEC, he's going to get SEC players. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Eventually, right now, shit's chaos because he just got there. But let the dust settle and see where it lands. How the cards fall. So, get a man a chance. I think obviously it's hard to win in your first season, your second season, but
especially with the amount of players that they lost, it's going to be hard for a year. I would say a year, 2 years.
I'm saying if they think he's going to come in and do what Saban did, he might as well never hire another coach at Alabama ever again.
Ever. But then again, they said nobody would ever replace Paul Bear Bryant. But
and kudos to this guy, Dober, whatever his name is. It takes some balls to come in and
a lot.
Trying to fill them shoes.
Mandingo balls to come in and try to major colossal. So I know you're getting ready for a nap, so we'll kind of wrap things up. But I wanted to ask you. I know we had Christian Eccles, the Vanilla Gorilla, on here a couple of weeks back. So we wanted to kind of go into what is next for Eryk Anders. I know right now you're focused on the fight, but what next? I know you're getting into the management side of it. That's a different, I deal with Hoffa and kind of going over his management stuff. It's a different way to look at things because as a fighter, it's like, hey, I show up and I fight. I've got somebody that handles all of those things. How does that differentiate for you on the management side of it as opposed to just being the fighter?
Well, I'm making that transition. I'm only going to fight a few more times. I'm saying I'll be 37 in April, so how much longer could I possibly fight anyway? So I think it'll be a good transition. And, for me, if I was a fighter like Christian, I'd want a guy who fought before to help me with this because, I've main evented UFC cards. When I finished my career, I've had 20 plus UFC fights. So I know the game inside and out. I've built relationships with matchmakers, other managers, and things like that. So, I know the game of MMA. You know what I mean? So I would want somebody who has been in my shoes, trained in different places, has relationships with coaches, fighters. They're going to help me, get the proper training and things like that. How to cut weight, all these things. This is a one-stop shop because, Dude, I know what it is to like train somewhere where you don't have many training partners and you want more training partners and you want to see what it's like other places. You know, I know everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I'm plugged in with Jason House, who has Iridium, who has the most fighters in the UFC. You know, I've got a guy on the Contenders already. You know what I mean? So, you know, I'm making moves and making waves and figuring this managing game out. I have a great mentor in Jason House, and things like that. So, you know, why wouldn't you want, you know, somebody like me to you know, help you navigate the waters? Because, you know, I remember being Christian's, you know, Christian's age and where he was at. Yeah, I'll fight anybody whenever, dude. I threw my name in the hat to fight fucking Francis Ngannou one time. Jason just fucking was just like, yeah, okay, buddy, fucking relax. there needs to be somebody to save the fighter for themselves, because young guys like him will fight anybody. Like, he fought a dude named Pat Downey, who I told him, I was like, dude, listen, don't take that fight, because there's a reason why they're offering you that fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Setting them up for the rope-a-doper, so they thought.
And you still got to
develop. No, listen, scared money don't make money. Like, you know what I'm saying? He called the shot, he made it, he did it. And, you know, kudos to him. But maybe he didn't realize. And I told him what they were doing. I was like, dude, of course, you know, they're trying to build this kid up. You know what I'm saying? This kid was on the Olympic ladder, you know, to go wrestle. Good, you know, the good thing for Christian, like, you know, Downey's a bit of a head case. And, you know, from what I hear, he really didn't train for that fight, and it showed, you know.
Plus, being from the backwoods of Alabama, a redneck from Alabama, it kind of helps a little bit. You got that fuck around and find out in you. And Christian is always, you know, I know him, his dad's kind of cut from the same cloth. But I agree. I talked to Christian, and I'm going to get with you kind of afterwards about aligning with and kind of helping. I want to build something back. You know, the more that I develop my business and everything and kind of navigate the waters, the state of Alabama has a lot of talent, and nobody has ever taken advantage of that and honed it in. So kudos to you for basically understanding that side of it, and it being a hotbed of talent and starting to develop something, because the state of Alabama could put on a lot of fighters with the right leadership.
Well, I mean, you just look at college sports now. Like, look at all the athletes that come out of the South. You know, not all those kids are going to the NFL, NBA, MLB. The problem is everybody's hung up on ball sports, you know, the big three: baseball, basketball, and football. But especially down here, I think other places like California, things like that, like MMA and jiu-jitsu and things, are becoming just as popular as those sports. But here, like, especially football reigns supreme. So I think, you know, it's just going to take someone to, like, say, oh, hey, you know, you were a phenomenal high school athlete, but college didn't work. So, hey, I got this thing over here. Like, are you willing to get punched in the face?
And you've done that.
Yeah. But it takes a certain kind of, like, person to be able to, like, okay, so you're you know, the best in your field at whatever it is, football, for example, you know, whatever, and then you don't make it. You know, do you have the wherewithal to set your pride to the side and be a white belt? You know what I'm saying? You're a black belt in football, but are you willing to, you know, make the transition and be a white belt, take your licks in the gym? Just like, if you're an athlete, dude, you can figure it out. You'll learn. Like, you can move. You know, you can be an athlete, but, you know, at first, in the beginning, and it's different for every athlete. Dude, you're going to get choked out by smaller people. You're going to get choked out by...
You're going to get knocked out by smaller people. You're going to get knocked out by a lot of people.
You're going to get, you know, beat up, punched, you know, kicked, taken down, submitted, you know. So you have to, like, put your pride to the side and you know, work hard and figure it out, you know. So that's the problem with, like, finding athletes for MMA here in the South, because no one's really starting out just doing MMA. You know what I mean? Like, MMA isn't really a sport here as it is in California. You can walk into any gym and find, you know, 4, 5, 6, 10 kids who have potential and like want to fight. Growing up as here, everybody want to be a football player. Everybody want to play basketball. Everybody want to play baseball. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They'll do it for a little bit.
my 6-year-old is just fixing to start grappling, and then he's got the Mexican genetics, so he's already got them hands. I showed him the slip and rip one time, and he was ready to go. So in California, there are more opportunities.
Jiu-jitsu's blowing up over here. It feels like everyone I talk to now is into it, especially like the 25, 30-year-old range. So hopefully it blows up in Bama pretty soon as well and translates over there.
Yeah, it is. It's growing for sure. But I'll help anybody. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm looking for is that kid who, maybe lost his way and, it didn't work out. Maybe he didn't qualify academically, to go to college, or maybe he didn't make it in the NFL. So, but he still wants to be an athlete, and he's willing to swallow his pride and show up to the gym and train day in and day out. I don't have a bunch of those, but it's the ones who show up every day and train hard and work hard. Those are the ones that seem to rise to the top, regardless of the background.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll finalize this off. And so I wanted to ask you something. What after your career, one of the things that I started doing is saying, what if I was to die tomorrow, what I would want to be remembered for? What is it that you would want, the one thing or group of things that you would want people to say about Eryk, your boy Anders?
Man, he gave everything his all. His kids, his career, his training.